everyone, it's Evie here, and I picked up this bad boy from the bookstore at actually my Books a Million bookstore not too long ago, and it's the Mystic Mondays tarot deck for the Modern Mystic, which I thought was really cool. And before I can get into this deck, this it was one of those decks that I actually really impulsively bought without really looking at the images too much and too hard. And I actually still haven't read the guidebook to it, but I feel pretty content after flipping through the imagery that I could make a halfway decent, maybe unbiased, maybe biased review of First Impressions deck review on it. I would probably still title this as a First Impressions versus something I've been reading with for a long time. A deck review is something, when I title something deck review, it's something I have been using for quite some time, and I really feel comfortable with the cards. I feel comfortable with the how it reads and everything about the deck. When I say something is at a First Impressions, that really means that it's quite literally a first impression. So, no further ado, let's just get into the cards. And I have to say, the First Impressions, as far as opening the box goes, it's one of these strange boxes. And it kind of looked like this in the store, like where the hat has the hole gaps in it. And I thought that was a little weird, with the cellophane all over it, and it had those little gaps in the cards like so. So I was like, I will see how that works. So I opened up the box, and it says trust your intuition, and I'll get into what are these flakies right here. So I opened the box and I opened up the cards, and oh my gosh, these little flakes. This deck has got to be the most skeevy deck I've ever opened for a first deck. I mean, like First Impressions deck. There's something with the printing or something in the printing process or the packaging process. And my deck, I don't know if other people's deck got the same way, got a little yucky, a little dirty, where the edges look dirty. It's not damaged. It will look like it's damaged. Like if you look here, it may look like it's damaged, but it's really not damaged. Just yuck. It has like a layer of yuck around the edges. So yeah, you can see it there. You got yuck everywhere on this deck. And I've never got skeevy on a deck, and this deck almost made me skeevy. Like, ugh, what is that? What is that? Yucky edges. Oh my goodness. But it's got to be something in mass printing. When they went through the mass printers and packaging process, and they probably got deck dust. Like when they're cutting the deck, dust everywhere, as well as in the same place where they were wrapping the deck. So I think that's what it is, but it's still like, whoa! It's like a cloud of dust coming out of the deck. So let's go ahead and just jump in the cards. I can't really say much for the book because I really haven't read the book. So yeah, it says the magician is Mercury. Oh, I'm learning something new. So it has a little bit of the thoughty meanings to it, I guess. What is blocking me? What is protecting me? So that's interesting. And it's a little color book, and it has a little thumbnails of what the cards are. So I like the little white book, actually. Ooh, that is a spiffy little white book. I might have to take a flip through on a later note, but this is quite literally first impressions of this deck. And all the cards have like this simplistic imagery on it. Like she's a full card. You could tell it's the full card, and she's jumping off the cliff with a stone. That kind of stuff. This is the magician card. Oh my goodness. The high priestess. So you really could tell which cards are which when you look at each card. It's not very much of a rocket science deck. I would call this deck, just by imagery alone, like a beginner to an intermediate deck. Is if you want to label a tarot deck on a beginner rating or an intermediate rating, I would say this is a good beginner and intermediate deck for somebody's buying their first tarot deck. The Empress, because you could tell exactly what it is, and the imagery is pretty enough, decent enough. And I'll do a shuffle at the end. I actually haven't shuffled this deck yet, and we'll see how it would look in a few layout examples. Hierophant. Now, some of these imageries like this, I would kind of look at it, and for a beginner, it might have some trouble with it. But like Love Verse card is very basic to the point. Flamingo. I love just the tiger for strength. Oh my gosh. Oh, this Hermit card actually reminds me of the Japri Tarot Hermit card. If anybody's, or Japanese, or Japri Tarot, potato deck, that one. Kind of reminds me of, oh, come on, focus. Kind of reminds me of that deck a little bit, with the same square room, and but instead of a girl like this, it's like the guy with the, like, holding his head and stuff. And I actually like the simplistic Wheel of Fortune card. That's actually a really nice card for a Wheel of Fortune. Justice card, I like the scales. A lot of people just like the scales when it comes to Wheel of Fortune. And see, that looks dirty there. The Hang Woman. I think that's interesting. It's a Hang Woman instead of a Hang Man. Oh, I didn't notice that before. Death. So I'm guessing this is kind of supposed to be more of a feminine deck, but I'm kind of, that's what I'm guessing. That's supposed to have some feminine features, you know, like a Hang Woman instead of a Hang Man. The Devil. Oh. But yeah, I don't think this deck has any quote-unquote scary images. Like, even the Tower card is kind of ominous, but it's yet very structured, and it doesn't look too frightening to, like, a client or anything. If you're worried about scary imagery for clients' readings, this is actually a pretty good deck, I would say. Even the scary scary card meanings are not very scary in this deck. Sometimes the cards are not focused. Yes, that's better. And you got the Sun. I like how it's just like the lady instead of like a baby on a horse. Judgment. Oh, I love this Judgment card, actually. And the World is an atom. Or, yeah, it would be an atom. I was right. I had to think about it, like, oh, did I not sound so intelligent for a second there? I had one of those moments. Yikes. Ace of Cups. 2 cups. And I think it's interesting, like I said, again, they have the 2 women here. I would not use this deck for love readings. And there's some cards in here that I will... this would be pretty good for... I would say okay for a love reading, imagery-wise. But when I come to a deck for certain things, certain suits kind of pop out at me. Like, for an example, if I'm reading about love, the cup suits is very important to me when I'm doing love readings. Like, that is like the cards you want to show up for a love reading is either the cups cards or maybe even the pentacle suit, or even the sword suit could be really good for the love readings. And of course the wand suit is good too. Don't get me wrong, the whole deck is really good for love readings. But there are certain key cards and seed elements in cards that I would totally, yuckers on the edge of the deck, I would totally be looking for in a love reading. And unfortunately this one does not meet the mark for me. I would not choose choose this deck for a love reading. Although the imagery is really nice for, I'd say, a good all-rounder general reading, I don't think this is something I would do for love. Not something I would do for love. I like the Five of Cups in here. This is a cool one for Five of Cups. Like this card, I think Two of Cups and Six of Cups are very important cards for me for love readings, in particular when I do love readings. They're like the trump cards of the deck when it comes to love readings. They have to mean something. They have to evoke energetic and intuitive response for me for a love reading, and I'm just not getting that from this deck when it comes to love readings. I would say this would be really good for general readings if you were asking like career, just life in general readings. Not necessarily for love for me, but to each its own, I guess. But those are kind of some of my brief explanations why I would not use this one for love readings at all. And so here I have the Ten of Cups. That's my year. No, my year cup card is the Ten of Pentacles. What am I talking about? I'm going crazy. Queen of Cups. I actually do like the court cards in here. They're kind of nondescript. You know, like the face, body, the images. You know, even like her, she's kind of a descript kind of person. You know, it could be anybody, could be anything. I like that about this deck. Queen of Cups. King of Cups. Yeah. See, I told you, this card got some yuckers on it. So let me go ahead and put this aside so it doesn't ruin my groove here with the camera. This camera is not the greatest as far as zoom. And so here's the Ace of Pentacles. Two Pentacles. So yeah, this is like more something I would talk more about a general reading. When I'm doing general readings, Pentacles are kind of important, I think. And maybe even sword suits are kind of important for general readings. Not to say that any other suit is bad for general readings, but I have certain preferences for certain reading types that I have. And that's why I have so many cards, is that I have a preference. Six of Pentacles, yuckers, all over the sides of this deck. I think those that the little flakies would get away over time, but it looks yucky. You know, the first few days probably. Seven of Pentacles. I really love this Eight of Pentacles. Usually Eight of Pentacles is like when you're talking about what's your favorite card in the deck? What's one of your favorite cards in a deck? The Eight of Pentacles usually comes to mind. Nine of Pentacles. And my Ten of Pentacles for this year. I had to take a swig of coffee there. I'm talking too much. And so I have the Prince of Pentacles right here. And I like this knight. They look very casual. They look like people. I'll have to do a video on how I read court cards, but that might take several videos. I do have a court card series that I've been doing, but I think I'm going to do probably a more in-depth how-to, like how I read court cards and how it goes context-wise for readings and stuff. But yeah, this is actually a pretty good deck. Oh, I love this King of Pentacles. He is awesome. He's exactly what I think about when you're thinking of a archetype or a person. Like if you just scrape the edges, it would look nicer. Look at that. Yuck. Yeah, look at that. That's just yucky right there. Ew, gross. That's the only problem with this deck I've had is scraping off the yuckers, and I'm wiping it off my pants as I'm doing the review. I have actually already done that before too. I've already gone through every card and just did that, and it's just like, ew. So Swords is all about communication and exchanging air with each other, basically, and and conflicts, communications and conflicts. And I think that the sword suit in this is pretty good. I don't actually agree with the two swords because of the curved swords. I would prefer the straight traditional sword, but this is good. You know, balancing communication, balancing conflicts. Maybe that's what the curved is for. But and then of course the traditional three of swords. Everything is coming at it. You every which angle, and the world is collapsing in on you. I like this four of swords actually. She's ugh. This deck is gonna be the end of me. I like that. I actually, when I was flipping through the deck, this deck was really standing out to me because of the simplicity of the images. And I actually looked on the back of the box when I was in the store, like this. This is all I could have seen of the deck. And actually, that's all the images I've ever seen of this deck. And I saw the back of the box and saw the simplicity of the images, and I thought, you know, that's got a place. It really does have a place. Like a Seven of Swords, Six of Swords, you know, the simplicity of a image in a reading is actually very important sometimes, and depending on what reading you're doing for a client. And Eight of Swords. I love my decks like the Tarot Prog and stuff, but the simplicity of these images kind of brings it a little bit more grounding, you know, kind of like the Orbital Tarot. It's kind of grounding and liberating to only have certain visual cues and go more on intuition. Maybe if I... Come on, focus camera. I was chitty-chatting and I realized that it's not focusing on the card. Come on. Focus. 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 Okay, we got success. Okay. Yeah, we're good. And so I like that. It's very simple. It's just saying that you feel beat down, in the dumps, feeling in the dumps, and you're kind of feeling like everything's coming at which angle. This is a pretty cool Princess of Swords. Oh, I didn't notice this too, and I probably should have mentioned this before when I saw this. It's that they have Princess instead of Page, which I actually prefer. Pages be princesses or the feminine counterpart. You know, like when you're talking about Page, you know, the court suits. I like the pages to be female, queens to be female, knights to be male, and the kings to be male. But that's my preference as far as court cards. I know people really prefer the LGBTQ way, and I do like that too. Don't get me wrong. I could do me decks with very ambiguous gender roles, but I kind of prefer some of the traditions, just a little bit of tradition sometimes in my tarot decks, because sometimes we all have female counterparts of ourselves and male counterparts of ourselves, and I've been reading, and this probably gets into another video, read the court cards in an archetypal sense. And that's a beautiful wand. Wands are actually pretty interesting for me because it's kind of like where does your heart lie? Where, you know, yes, the Cups card can talk about heart and love and everything, but really the Wands could be like, where does your interest lie? Where is those hearts lie? Like, are you desiring for it to be like for me, like the Four of Wands is all about maybe you're desiring for marriage, you know, that's where your passions lie. You desire to be married, you desire to be with somebody, or even Five of Wands, it's like your desires too, you know, the wands are also have to do with desires. Are you desiring for conflict or get away from conflict, or your time is spent doing conflict and victory, and yeah, it just depends. It all depends. And then of course I love the Eight of Wands being traditional. That's just kind of how I is. Nine of Wands. I kind of don't like her on the offensive. I've seen another deck that I had this too. It was probably the modern day spellcasters. I'm not too quite fond of the nine when it comes to Rider-Waite-Smith deck. I'm not fond of the Nine of Wands being offensive or on the defense. I kind of want them more on the I'm not so really interested in anything kind of moment. And then 10 is burdens, of course. But that kind of gets into preferences a little bit and some Rider-Waite-Smith preferences. I probably should do a walkthrough of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. If everybody put a comment down below or something if you would be interested of me walking actually through a Pamela Smith Rider-Waite-Smith deck and let me tell you what I feel like certain cards mean in certain situations. If you're interested, just let me know in the comments and I could totally be game for that. And I'm trying to do some more diligence on doing more tarot stuff when I'm not working and I'm not going through my personal problems and stuff. I'm gonna try to regain my tarot and I'm trying to regain my independence and doing some more YouTube. And that's kind of what my goal is for this year right now, is to make tarot a part of my job again. I love this King of Wands. And let me sweep away all that yucky debris from those cards. Oh my god, that was nasty. And so, just let me know. Just let me know. I'm starting to get back into the tarot groove again, and this tarot thing again. And so, let me know what kind of things that you would be interested in watching, reading, watching, not reading. From Evie. Oh shoot, this deck is kind of thick. So that's kind of an example spread of this deck, and I think it's actually not too bad. I think this deck is a pretty good has a pretty good layout. It doesn't have anything that I wouldn't like for tarot. It's definitely going to be a little bit more of a simpler images, simpler visuals than let's say some other decks that are out there. But I really do think this is a definite good perfect tarot deck for somebody who wants a general reading and it's in the reader's looking for something a little bit more simpler for a client. But that's kind of my first impressions of this deck. I haven't really used this deck enough to really say that's exactly what I would use this deck for, because I got over 100 decks and I am going to try to do a walkthrough and review of every single one of them eventually. And I definitely feel like that this deck is probably more geared, in my practice, probably for more general readings if I was to feel called to pull this deck out. So let me know if you want to know some other, want some other videos and demand some other pre-recorded videos. I'm not going to ask for the recorded videos on my live chats are going to be always different. That's all I'm gonna say. It's always gonna be different, and it's always gonna be something new. And I might do live walkthroughs and unboxings and stuff still. But as far as some deck reviews go for pre-recorded videos or learning videos, just let me know in the comments, like, what would you want to learn from Evie, and just let me know. And I love you all, and kisses, hugs. Bye.